Hail, you cuties! You either follow all of our updates in Discord and social media, or you're probably a little confused with the title of this episode. We love bringing you new episodes #every fucking Monday, but sometimes things like illness or personal life gets in the way. That said, we refuse not to give you content, and if you love listening to the Slapdash crew roleplay together, Undermile should be just for you. Undermile is a setting I designed in my free time, inspired by stories like The Secret of Nim, Mouse Guard, Redwall, and many other animated classics featuring small animals accomplishing big things. It's a 5th edition D&D setting with some custom rules I wrote, mostly featuring the playable clans of animals, and was presented in 4 2-hour chapters live-streamed throughout June. The game was a passion project and a chance for me to tell a story as a DM again after almost a year off, and the stream itself was a fundraiser for Hazel's House Pet Rescue. You'll hear us reference the fundraiser during the show. If you visit theluq.com before the end of June, you too can contribute. Also, since the game was streamed and recorded remotely from our individual locations, the audio is going to sound different than you're used to with our table recordings that we do for LUQ. But we hope that doesn't make you lose interest in the fun setting and the great players at the table. Anyway, for the next 4 weeks, we'll be bringing you the episodes of Undermile on Mondays in podcast format, giving us time to form a backlog of new LUQ Battle Axis episodes. So please enjoy the refreshing change of scenery and look forward to more LUQ antics soon. We love you all. And now I present to you Undermile, the vanguard below the garden. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Undermile. There's no real origin of this story other than I've always wanted to run a game with aminals because I really like the kind of genre. This is very heavily inspired by Secret of Nim, things like Mouse Guard artistically, Redwall, kind of. I didn't actually like those books that much, but I did love the setting. And
let's not alienate half our listeners.
No. That's fair. Yeah, my elevator pitch to this is that Hamtaro, not quite.
Deeply inspired by Hamtaro.
Fucking battle Hamtaro, yeah, I'm in.
Super. My elevator pitch was that it's like Secret of Nim, but with religion instead of science.
Yay!
So I'm going to
that improves
drop.
everything.
Yeah, the preferred method of storytelling. So this is a fundraising stream. We probably would have done it either way, but I really thought it would be fun to attach a charity to this. And this one in particular, there's a link to it. Any interaction with the Twitch is welcome and appreciated, but if you're going to donate any kind of bits or anything, maybe consider going straight to the charity and donating there. We don't have it set up, so your Twitch donations go there. You'll have to follow the link. And this is a fun note, and none of my players know this yet. I have a very soft background system going that will, if we reach certain goals, it may affect the story and how it's being told.
I wasn't told about this.
You hit rewards in our little cages?
Deals off. I'm out. No. So I'll take a second to tell you about Hazel's House right after we introduce my friends and the cast and the members of Slappy Dash. Let's start just going in order with Max.
Hi, my name is Max. I play Wuxia in League of Ultimate Questing Season 2. I've been around for a little while. I'm one of the co-stars of Help Action. I've been a professional DM in Portland for a little over 10 years now, and I look really good in black.
Yeah. Angelo.
I am Angelo Kaluag. I have questioned whether or not I truly exist, but part of the League of Ultimate Questing Season 2 Battle Axis. I've done a little guest spot, or two maybe, at Help Action, Max's podcast. And I'd say I look good in pink.
You too.
And I am Dana Ebert. Y'all know me. I was in 4 episodes of Season 1 and all of Season 2 of the League of Ultimate Questing Battle Axis. I also do other stuff. Check out my Twitter if you want to see what all that stuff is. And I look good in turquoise? I don't really understand what we're doing here, but I'll play.
Is there a bit?
I look good in mouse.
Look, the bit glove was thrown out, right?
I look okay.
No, you look fantastic. You definitely have the most production value of any of us right now.
Zaborkus.
That's me. I'm Zach Barkus. I am the technical director for Slapdash Studios, player in Season 1, showrunner for Season 2. You know, Law and I have been at this for a while, and this is the culmination of that work.
This is the long con.
This is the
We've
culmination.
Yeah, this is the
building
peak.
you up with 3 years of LUQ so I can drop 4 episodes of rat nonsense.
Exactly. It's just hot rat dumps.
Great. I have one more person I'm going to introduce real quick.
Awesome.
I think I know who it is.
This is Pickles.
Aww.
She's a very special and good baby.
What a good baby.
Pickles definitely changed my life. And Pickles is a rescue adoption that I got from Hazel's House, who the charity for tonight is in honor of. Hazel's House is a local volunteer foster-based nonprofit program made to help cats and dogs of all ages all over Oregon and, when possible, help animals from high-kill states. They assist with pregnancy and nursing for mother cats and dogs. They also have resources for low-cost spay and neuters, TNR, and food assistance programs. They are very hardworking, and they do it all out of the goodness of their hearts, so donations are very important, and maybe more people's lives can be changed with kitties or puppies like Pickles. So if you have a chance to check out the link, I'll be dropping it regularly through the show. There's another one right there. Any donation to that is extremely generous and kind of you, and I'm going to be following it loosely. The donations there on that page may influence how the game goes or change something. And I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. Let me open up all the files I need. I don't know if I mentioned it, Zach, but my OBS source window has about 65 instances in it right now. So
Nice.
It's fucking nuts. All right. Let's tell a story, shall we?
Let's do.
It has been 2 weeks since a thunderstorm shook the farmland. The clouds hung like rows of black soil in the fields of the night. The rapturous black blasts of thunder shook even the lowest dwellers. The lightning struck near and far like serpents of flame. The rain and hail pummeled and bruised without mercy. The farm changed that night. Some say one of the crofters died. Surely a rumor. An old rabbit clears his throat. His long whiskers and ears hang nearly to the ground. His sacred robes of white are clean, and their quality denotes his standing. He is known as the Gray Hare, an elder among the dwellers, and speaker for the church. All animals are equal in Undermile, but if there is a voice that unites them, it is his. To his left is a bird with dark feathers, the bones of rodents around her neck. White paint adorns her beak and eyes, and her gleaming blood-red breast shines like fire. She is the grave robin. To his right is a short bundle of brown robes. Tiny stones and amulets dangle from threads. Pale quills poke through the back, and a small round nose protrudes from under dark hoods. He leans on a staff, once a delicate teaspoon. He is the hedge wizard. The gray hare speaks powerfully to the citizens, gathered to watch the ceremony. The mouth of the Earth Queen spoke the name of the garden and field. In protest, the mountains and forests stood adamant against them. But life was born, and the vegetation grew tall. The Earth Queen gave birth to gods to tend to the fields, and rewarded them with castles and flame. The crofters became the champions of this domain. By their will, life flourishes or can be silenced. By their will, the earth can be shaped and reborn. By their will, truths will be uncovered. They guard the land, but who guards the crofters? We are the dwellers of the Undermile, the blood clans united to be the watchers in the dark and the vanguard below the garden. Champions of sky, tree, tunnel, and cellar, against the stalking shadows cast out to the trees, against the hunters on high, and against the coiled serpents who sing promises in poisonous tongues. The great ones give unto us, and we take just what we need. We are their champions. We serve the will of the Earth Queen and her chosen. It has been 2 weeks since a storm struck our home, and in the dark of that night something changed. The scales have been tipped. We hear the crofters wail sometimes at night, but do not see them. The smell of their blood lingers in the air. The crops have started to turn, as though winter has come early, and the mongrels on the border grow bold. We have asked for the guidance of the First, and they have chosen a select few to look into this matter. Chosen by his will, guided by fate, answering the call that none can ignore. You stand before the Church of Eternal Harvest in the heart of Undermile, a society of animals of many clans unified to exist in peace and help maintain the balance of the land. The church is massive and makes up most of the community center. Its perfect geometric corner is a harsh contrast to the natural stone and twisting roots of the wall and ceiling. A rectangle with an open top. It was once a coffin, the resting place of the first crofter who built this farm. His decayed body is erected out of the top and embedded into the wall, as though he holds up the very ceiling that shields you. From his spread arms are draped grim effigies, mechanical traps with dead animals hanging from them, a sign of the crofter's power, a reminder what going against them can lead to. It is a sight all dwellers must grow used to, but for some of you, it's your first time seeing this horrific facade. The four of you are assembled on a wooden platform like a stage in front of the church, before what must be every last dweller, congregated to bear witness to their supposed salvation. What do they see from each of you?
Looking eager and excited, darting his head back and forth, is a slightly undersized blackbird, a crow, with a big yellow beak and white circles around his eyes, almost like he has small glasses on. A tattered hat sits slumped over the back of his neck, and the wide brim hides his eyes from most flickering flames around. He hops from one foot to another, almost nervous. This is his first time underground. His little gloves across his talons help protect his feet from any harsh stones that he may come across, not used to walking on them. Eagerly, he has his spellbook tucked under one of his wings. Array of different stamps that have been collected from the leavings and forgettings of the crofters. Knowledge that they have gifted to Barn Albus and the rookery. He clutches a staff of an old, worn-out knife handle in one hand and seems like he's ready to try to prove himself and any who came from the illustrious school of knowledge that he has hopped down from.
Excellent. And for those of you in the audience, the objects collected from the crofters are known as the numinous, if that term comes up later. Next.
Standing next to him, dwarfing the other three on the stage, is Bosco the Tethered. He is a badger. His golden fur is now aging, graying, and stained in mud and blood. He is covered in scars and the signs of battle. And a coil of barbed wire, a gift or a curse from the crofters, most notably around his neck. He covers up the rest of his frame in a large cloak, but you can tell that he has the posture of a soldier. He looks straight on towards the leaders of the blood clans. And if you were to be seated behind him, you would see his square frame and his large tufted eyebrows sticking out and the tips of his bushy handlebar mustache.
Oh, he's got that side brow?
Oh, well, it's, yeah.
That's amazing. Fantastic. Next.
Move over side boob. I'm here for side brow.
I was going to say, if you sat behind him, you would tell him to get down because you're trying to watch a movie.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The smallest of the four is a small brown field mouse. Though that may be a misnomer, as this is the first time this mouse has ever stepped outside. And it shows. Her small body is trying not to tremble as tiny paws reach up and pull the brim of her hat further down. The hat itself is made from an acorn and bears the feather of a baby chicken. Her clothing is a red lace doily with the initials SK emblazoned on them. She clutches in her hands a needle. Her name is Tiana Biscuit.
Despite the low stature of Tiana, something lays lower. Sat, huddled, holding in its hands a long, gnarled handle of a blackberry bush staff with a single berry at the end, is what looks like a pile of bloody, sickened gauze. It raises its head, and below a hood of white, you see a bone mask covering the face of a rat. The audience would be sickened by what they see underneath it, but it is enough to know that a diseased rat sits on that stage.
The gray hair steps to the first of you, Valerius. Each of you was beckoned here by a call that cannot be ignored. A symbol as old as Undermile itself. A curio. He holds his clawed gray hand out to you and whispers, "The curio has found you. Once returned home, your calling commences. If lost or stolen, a curse shall meet this farm." You flash back to a few days ago, to how it came into your possession. It seems like ages ago now. The unyielding parallel rafters of the loft above the barn cast a comforting shadow over the rookery. A huge window overlooks the farmland, as dozens of avians gather to study, to practice the ways of magic. A mason brick desk serves as a writing surface for a pair of sparrows at work, attempting to scribe letters in the crofter's tongue. A lark sings a shrill song and a candle ignites to life. A nervous magpie makes a mess of his concoction as the thunderous moos from down below shake the floorboards. You find yourself struggling to turn the page on a giant newspaper. You're positive the strange images and words hold a universe of secrets, but it's so damn hard to translate.
Every moment I spend looking at this, another puzzle unfolds in front of me. The crofters surely are intellect on a level I cannot comprehend.
A lumbering wide figure lands with a thud from the window, and all the birds stop what they're doing. The round white face of the rookery's master turns upright, and Barnalby the Wise stomps forward with fluffy pale talons, clicking against the wood. His dangling tawny robes mask the shape of his prodigious stomach. He looks over the work of his students, his head rotating all the way back as he passes them one by one. "Young Valerius, halt your studies. We must speak."
How dare you?
"Come with me, young one."
Of course, my tutor. Yes. Valerius will, like this is a normal thing, hop over excitedly, fluttering his wings slightly as he goes.
He leads you towards the opening of the massive window that overlooks the farmstead. "The day hath come for you to earn your hat, young Valerius. Your stubborn tenacity has earned you very high marks this season, and despite my insistence that you broaden your magical horizons, your area of focus has guided you well." A chevron of dusky geese glide through the air in view of the rookery window, maybe a mile off, minds united. "Tell me, child, what does it mean to be a beast awoken?"
It means that it is your responsibility, nay, your privilege, to guide those who have yet to awaken, to lead them to something better and bigger from what they may be, yet all beneath the notice of the crofters, so they do not grow wise to our developments.
He looks at the V in the distance. "Those geese are not awoken. Could they do magic like you or I?"
So they could not practice it. They are an essential part of it, a point in the formula that creates our talents.
"They indeed have a magic of their own. They hear the song of the Earth Queen, and it guides them true north and true south, more accurate than any crofter's compass. Sounds like magic to me."
Yes, they are drawn to these strands and threads. They have a primal understanding of the things that flow around us.
He produces 3 small boxes from inside of his robes with a very careful talon. One is made of tightly woven straw, more of a basket with a lid. One seems to be a small dented tin with faded letters in the crofter's tongue across the top. You have no idea what balm is. The third is a simple wooden flip-top box that, unbeknownst to you, once held a very important ring. Think not too hard and speak with an honest tongue, young Valerius. Does magic come from the heart or from the mind?
My tutor, magic comes from the unity of both. If there is disharmony within you, then you cannot tap the gifts that the Earth Mother has given to us.
What would you rather take with you into battle? A numinous? A sword? Or a lover's kiss?
The hopeful side of me would say a lover's kiss, but the practical side of me says the numinous.
Then what does the student side of you answer?
Ah, I see. Straight to business. The student side of me says the numinous.
A mule pulls the plow. A crofter guides the plow. The plow breaks the earth. Who is in charge?
The earth is in charge, of course. Without its yielding, the mule would wander into rambles. The crofter would be frustrated, struggling to break the earth, and the plow would find no purchase.
Choose a box, young Valerius, he says, tapping near the three with his big talon.
This is not a picnic. I will choose whatever balm is.
The moment you open the tin, a buzzing insect comes soaring out of it and races towards the window. As the tiny bug hits the night air, its bottom erupts into flame as the lightning inside of it comes to life, and it shines like a fairy and zips off into the night air. Barnaby looks down at you, cocking a fluffy eyebrow. Well, you want your hat? Follow the leader.
Ah, soaring after the butt of a bug, just like home.
Go ahead and roll me a perception check.
It's all about that bug butt.
Bug butt.
I'm so intimidated.
Oh boy, here we go. Starting off strong. Let's get an 8. Hot garbage.
It takes you a minute before you finally catch sight of the lightning bug. It circles around small trees. It zips over the pond as hungry frogs look skyward, mourning the limited reach of their tongues. It swoops under resting horses' legs and dances along rain gutters. You've never seen a bug so possessed. Flapping feverishly, you race to keep up. The world around you is now a blur, and the light at the end of the tunnel is the pulsating backside of this tiny insect. You gasp for air as it comes to a halt, hovering like some relic aloft in the dark. The world around you comes into focus and you realize where you are. Towering walls of green and yellow loom overhead. Before you and behind you is a labyrinthian passage, impossibly wide. The ground is covered in the corpses of fallen crops, melting into the earth and making a sweet rancid mud. The corridor. A place you know all too well, but still fail to comprehend.
Speaking of home, the bug is here in front of me.
Yes, it hovers like some ancient relic. You almost regret the choice to follow your eye's vertical line, as the corn stalks pull you upward further and further. A familiar chorus of cawing echoes through the maze like a warning from a far-off source. But there they stand, colossal and unflinching, the straw sentinels, the watchers of the corridor, crucified on thick dowels and buried into the earth. They wear the armor of the crofter, and their dead eyes see everything. Cruel smiles spread across their faces, judging and knowing too much. Please make me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, be better than a 5. That's better than a 5. That's going to be a whopping 14.
Ooh, wonderful. You catch a sight of the lightning bug. The distraction saves you from the crippling might of your own terror. It drifts gently on the wind, fearlessly, towards the base of the towering sentinels, beckoning you to follow. And against all thought, you find your courage. There's a dark shape at its feet. Something you always feared. Surely the dead body of some hard-working crow snatched out of the air and crushed like a tree nut. But there's no smell of decay. You creep closer and realize this is a fabrication. A creature made of cloth and corn husk. A false construct made in the image of a crofter. similar to the sentinels themselves, but tiny, as small as you are. It's caked in filth, left here to fade into lost memory, discarded. But upon its round husk head is a finely stitched, wide-brimmed patchwork hat, which seems unsoiled by mud or time.
Of all the places I would expect to find a waiting gift, in the mouth of terror is certainly its own irony. All right, then. Thank you for guiding me, little bug. I was afraid I was going to have to eat you. I take my little talon and grab the hat, try to flip it onto my head as quickly as possible.
Sure. Go ahead and roll me a dexterity check.
Oh, boy. Ooh. We're looking at a 17 total.
Ooh. It lands square on your head, and the natural size of it tilts it just akimbo slightly, where it will naturally sit for some time.
I'll clack my beak happily, knowing that my test is passed, and go to wing back home.
As you prepare to fly home, you catch one last glimpse of the lightning bug as it seems to bob in the air in a farewell, zipping upward out of the corridor and back towards the farm. But as it ascends into the night, you catch a glimpse of something, a flash of metallic manifested by the light from the tiny guide. Something golden, stuck into the eye of the sentinel you stand at the base of.
This constant temptation is troubling. But if this is the nature of my tests, then fine.
Mustering all the courage you have, you manage to flap up and land on the behemoth's shoulder. The sensation of fabric and straw and muscle under your talon sends chills up your spine. You could swear it turns its head slightly to keep an eye on you. But you reach up cautiously and pluck the strange golden object from the hollow eye socket of the monster. It smiles unafraid. You feel the weight of it in your talon, its strange organic shape both smooth and sharp. You hold it up to see it in the moonlight, and your blood goes cold as you realize what you hold. A curio. A sacred object that summons any awoken who finds it into Undermile. This is a symbol of fate. All dwellers know what it means. The call that must be answered. A shining gold tooth of the first crofter. For passing your tests and choosing the tin box, you have learned the cantrip's minor illusion Druidcraft, and while you wear your hat, you will have a +1 to your religion checks for knowledge about the crofters.
Hell yeah.
Your different answers influence your rewards.
Love it. Mage Hand Minor Illusion Druidcraft?
Them's the ones.
Fantastic.
And I will move us forward as time flees. You cautiously hold out the gold tooth to the gray hair, who looks at it with awe and reverence before taking it and holding it close to his chest. And his eyes drift over, and then up, to meet the gaze of the tall badger next in line. He holds his hand outward, asking softly, "Your curio." And even with all these eyes upon you, in this strange position, your mind still wanders back to what happened. What you went through. You remember the panic and the chase. Red blood, white feathers, orange fur. A rage you've never felt before that filled you. In retrospect, it might not have been as bad if it weren't for the anger, the thrashing, the roaring and the fighting, the first bite, the tightness, strangling and cutting, until you slipped into darkness. The black place resting on agony, where time is a circle and visions lose all meaning. Weakly looking upward and unable to move. Long gray faces hovering over you. Friends? Visions of death? The clicking of metal on metal. The pain as 4 strong arms hold you down from your frenzy. How long had it been? A voice penetrates the weight of your dark prison. Eyes blinking, aching at the light.
Bosco. Bosco. Damn you, Bosco.
You're unable to move. You're in a bed with heavy blankets draped over you. They're soaked in patches of blood. The agony of breathing sharpens your senses like a whetstone. A large brown badger sits beside you, wide as he is tall. Their face twisted in a combination of rage and sorrow. Their muzzle damp with tears. Your brother Boris. There's some debate between the two of you who is the eldest, for as you're from the same litter. But you grew up together, and fought many battles together.
Bosco, you idiot. I thank the Earth Queen you're too stubborn to die.
Fuck. Why am I alive?
He takes your paw in his own, and as the open air strikes your exposed skin, it hits like a hornet's nest.
Right. What about the hens? Right. The birds.
You're finally awake. Good. You're speaking. Yes. I'm glad. Just don't try to move. You'll just make it worse. Just be still and listen.
Well, if it's orders you're giving me, right, I'll follow. But what happened?
Bosco, the fox. It got away. Most of it, anyway.
I have my clothes in her. I dug in.
You've been out for a long time, Bosco. The healers, they did everything they could, but it's in too deep.
What are you talking about?
He pulls back the blanket a bit, revealing the barbed wire buried into your flesh.
All they could manage was cleaning it and securing it more carefully. You'd bleed out if they did any more. Your damn thick skin saved your life and put you in this situation.
Well, if it wasn't so thick, I could have slipped. I could have gone through the fence.
Bosco, I didn't come here to tell you what the healers did or didn't do. I came here to say farewell to my brother. One last time.
Fuck, I am dying.
It's not that, you idiot. The elders, they have made the decision. You failed in your task, Bosco. We lost 6 of them. This will be a stain on our family's name for some time, and they have invoked the old laws and taken away your name, your title, your family and holdings. The name Bosco was a gift from our mother, and I refuse to let them take that from you. But it is all that remains now. We are no longer blood.
Well, what? Don't I get to make my case, right? What were the dogs gonna do? Bark and scare the fox away? They've never caught her.
Take your final orders with honor, Bosco. Once your wounds are healed, they will cast you out of Greyholm. Then your fate will be in your own paws. If I had my druthers, I'd come see you every day, even if we had no ties. But the family forbids this. I had to fight tooth and nail just to even make this meeting possible. I hope you understand. We are bound by our honor.
Right. No. I thank you, brother. I will accept these orders with as little of honor that I have left.
Bosco, your deeds are gone to us, and your name is lost in the wind. Never again will I call you my brother. But just know, whatever happens, they can take the world from you. But there will always be a place of honor for you here, in the memories of my heart.
He slams the door angrily, silencing his own emotions with a quick act of aggression. The next few weeks give you plenty of time to reflect on things as your body tries against all odds to mend itself. Your nights are full of agony. The act of moving becomes the greatest challenge you've yet faced. But bit by bit, you manage to make your body move. The biting of iron cutting into your muscles, the weakness from the blood loss. In time, you are standing. Once you're up, the act of getting back down is misery. The room is lifeless. Your only company is the silent nurses who change your bandages, apply ointments to your open wounds, and pour hot gruel down your throat. That and the window. It's small and rusted, but the view of Greyholm fills your recovery with the memories of your youth. The night the great storm came, you watched the rain and hail pelt the glass, the crashes of thunder and flashes of lightning godlike in their tenacity. You fear that you're getting better. The pain is the same as it was, but your body's learned to move again. The scar tissue and muscle loss have made you able to bend your joints. You feel as though tomorrow is the day that you must leave, out on your own. And that night, you simply stare out the window. The farm seems different, quiet, less vibrant. You don't rest, just look outward. And suddenly something heavy slams into the window. The shock of it flings you backwards and you land on your backside. Skin rips. Iron teeth cut in, and the agony floods your body, but the anger brings you back to your feet. Somehow the fresh blood makes it easier to move, like a grim, sanguine lubrication in a suit of armor. And your attention snaps back to the window. Something shiny nearly shattered the glass. And leaning your weight against the wall, you force the rusted frame open to get a look at what rests below the pane. You cautiously reach out and fish through the tall grass for whatever it was, and scoop up. No. You lose your breath as you see what it is. A golden tooth. A curio from the mouth of the first crofter. It came to you. The call that must be answered. You snap back to the present as the gray hair patiently holds his old paw out, waiting for you to return the symbol to him, to move the ritual forward.
For the clans, I give him the...
The gray hair moves to the next of you and crouches down to look into the small mouse eyes of Tina Biscuit.
I have seen this armor and needle before, but you are new to me. But it matters not. Your curio, please.
But is it yours? It must be. Why else would you even be here? It seems like just yesterday your biggest challenge were your chores and your studies. You remember weeding the tiny garden outside the tiny cottage on the outskirts of the cellars that belonged to your grandmother. Anyone who is anyone has heard the legends of Jamina Biscuit, the Stitchkeeper Knight, hero to Undermile and champion among the mice, the small, humble mice, so often overlooked in things like greatness. But that was a long time ago, before she raised you. You never asked how old she is, but you're certain it's a grand number indeed. And every day she told you,
I'll be fine if I just keep moving. It's when you stop you have to worry.
And then a few days ago she was just too tired to get out of bed, to do her little errands and cook her little meals, to weed her tiny garden. She said,
Just one day of rest and tomorrow everything's back to normal.
And then the next day she slept. A lot. You took care of everything. The tiny cottage kept clean as ever, the tiny garden full of summer life, the sound of a tea kettle still whistling in your ears.
Tiana! Tiana, my dear, come here, child. We can have tea later.
Yes, of course.
You moved to her bedside near the kitchen. She seemed so tiny, propped up on a pillow and tucked tightly into her quilt, stitched with sunflowers and fried eggs. A tiny gray paw pulls a pair of large round spectacles off her nightstand and rests them on the tip of her pink nose.
Hello, Button. Have you been doing all the work alone? I'm so sorry, dear.
Just rest, Jam Jam.
No time for rest. There was a noise at the door last night, and you were sleeping, poor thing, all worn out from a full day of tending alone. I was very tired, but we both know curiosity gets the best of me. Took a bit, but I made it to the door, and I found something very curious on the other side. Something meant for me.
What is it?
Tell me, Button, have you been keeping up on your studies?
I have, Jam Jam.
When you were little, you hated your studies. You'd rather be out chasing ladybugs with a stick. Remember, there's always time to chase a few ladybugs. And have you been practicing your needlework?
Of course, Jam Jam.
Oh, you're such a good girl, my dear Button. There can be no question about it. I've taught you everything that I know. That's good. That's good. Have you ever heard of a curio?
I don't think so, Jam Jam.
It is a message delivered by fate to one who is meant to carry it back to Undermile. A call that must be answered. A symbol of the crofter's will. Button, I am old. My youth was filled with love and adventures, friendship and lessons. Remember the story of the giant mouse-eating frog that lived at the bottom of the pond? I sewed his lips right up so he couldn't eat anything bigger than a fly. I was a cheeky girl.
It's one of my favorite stories.
Tiana, I am a Stitch Keeper Knight, and with that comes certain duties and certain gifts. Go and fetch me Cruel, dear one.
Cruel, your grandmother's needle. Once bright and silver, but faded to a near black with years of deadly sharp, swift motion. Many were the hours you looked up at it, dreaming of its rights it had wronged. It hangs on a nearby wall and takes you no time to retrieve, and as you hand it to her, her tiny wrinkled paw wraps around the eye and holds it aloft. A spark of youth lights up in her eyes, and she traces a silent story to herself in the air with its tip.
Oh, where was I? Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. I am a Stitch Keeper Knight, and with my rank and title comes the power to bestow and confer our order's honors to whomever I deem worthy.
She looks you in the eyes lovingly.
What are you saying, Jam Jam?
Just listen, my sweet button. Jam Jam needs to speak. This was meant for me, my dear.
She fishes under the quilt and produces perhaps the strangest thing you've ever seen. A crofter's tooth made of gold. She rests it on the bed between you.
This is a call that I must answer. I am sworn to serve the Undermile in times of need. They need my help. I know I'm old, Button, but that is why the time has come. The task must fall onto your shoulders.
I'm sorry, Slay and Crochet got me.
That is good.
Of course, Jam Jam.
Remember, Button, the acorn does not decide when the springtime comes. It either grows and starts a new life as a tree, or it becomes squirrel food. Now kneel, Tiana Biscuit. Cello daughter, proud awoken mouse of the Undermile. It is my right as a knight of the Stitch Keepers to grant unto our order a new brave heart. From this day forward I pass unto you my title, my blade, my honor, and my duty. Do you swear to serve the community with empathy and valor?
I swear.
Do you swear to show courage in the face of great threats?
I do. I do, Jam Jam.
Do you swear, Button, to use your needle to mend and protect the greater good?
I'll do my best.
I am sorry there is no audience here to witness. But I now declare you Tiana Biscuit, Knight of the Stitch Keepers, and sole benefactor of my station, my armor, and my tabard. My home and holdings are now yours. Arise, Knight.
She places a soft hand on your round cheek, and her eyes fill with nothing but love.
I wish there had been witnesses. It can be hard to convince others of what happens behind closed doors. But this should help.
She pushes the golden tooth towards you.
The call is now yours to answer. I'm so proud of you, Button. And remember, always remember, a needle stronger than a knife, a stitch in time, can save a life.
We fight for Crofter, Clan and Queen, and mend the tears that go unseen.
We sow our justice one for all, for valor fears no task too small.
And with a look of complete comfort, like a great weight has lifted off her shoulders, and peace washes through her body, she closes her eyes, and the tiny paw holding your own goes soft. The next day was a blur. Dig a hole. Mark a grave. Get your house in order. Must hurry. Don the armor. Buckle the blade. No time to sleep or eat. Much to do. Is this really happening? Why so fast? The sound of a throat clearing brings you back to the stage, and the gray hair smiles at you comfortingly, as though part of him knows what you've been through. The curio, dear child.
Tiana's small hands start rifling through her regalia, clothing that she's not yet used to, as she produces from a small pocket the curio.
His large paw gently takes it from your tiny hands. And the last figure assembled in the line is approached. The gray hair looks you up and down, analyzing the eyes behind your mask, the bandages on your arms. A hissing whisper can be heard among some of the rats in the assembled throng. He holds his paw out to you expectantly. His poker face is strong. You can't tell if he has some kind of curiosity, contempt, or caution, but he does not shy away from making you a welcome part of this ritual.
Mind not my scabrous hands, brother. They can heal aught but themselves.
He nods, understanding your words. Behind him, the towering corpse of the first crofter overlooking the events fills you with strange memories. Decisions of the past. Anger. Battle. Cages. Pain. But most of all, it reminds you of your most recent home. The crofter's grave is a dark corner of the farmland, where the great gods of the earth lay their dead to rest. The canopy of wide trees keep it cast in shadows. The graves are few, but it is a sacred place. The awoken keep away, lest they have a need to pray to the old gods or leave an offering. One grave, the first and oldest grave, remains empty, a huge excavation patch of earth. The coffin before you finally answers your questions of why. The blackberry bushes that surround the gravesite are dark and twisted. The dichotomy of silent sacred death and voracious unapologetic life makes a fine place for thinking about the past and the future. No one asked you to tend to it. Nobody put you in charge. But nobody questioned it either. Hell, few of them even noticed. There was an old forgotten toolbox half buried that made a fine home once you cleaned it up, keeping the graves free of debris, cutting back the blackberry bushes, tidying up the gravestones to make the words clear. It just made sense. It felt right. You don't even remember how long you've been doing it, save for the spread. On the night it happened, you awoken to the sound of scraping and scurrying. It's so rare to hear activity here, you thought at first it may be a dream. But the lighting of a tea candle and the donning of your robes revealed the truth. There at one of the crofters' graves, most recent if you had to guess, were shadows in the night, digging, hissing, desecrating.
Cursed be the gravekeeper's life, but far more so the grave robber. Who goes there?
As you move closer, you see them for what they are. A pack of 3 rats, naked, dirty, clear from the chaos in their reflective eyes that they are half awoken. Mongrels. And as they become aware of you, the largest one turns to face you. By the Earth Queen, he's a big one. This rat gives hares a run for their money at the weigh-in. Black matted fur, twisted yellow teeth, and one crooked arm. The others clearly follow him, obediently.
I have rest and succor if you take it, half-brother. Fight me not, I beg of you.
We seek the meat of the crofters.
You'll find no meat here, only bones, such as these.
And he draws a sharp claw across his mask.
God's meat buries for a long time and makes us strong. Makes us win. Join us, Ratkin.
You misunderstand, half-brother. It is not that meat is not there, only that you will never find it.
You've spent a long time among the rats on the outskirts, the unawoken. You learned much back then. You try not to think about it, but you still remember some battles. You know this rat, infamous among the mongrel hordes, known for his black fur and twisted arm. Mord Kiel the Milk Taker, one of the few that has risen through the filth to be spoken of on hushed breath, with a reputation for feasting on newborn ratlings and taking their mother's milk as his own. A monster even among the mongrels. He believes it makes him bigger and stronger, and nature has little to say to debate this point.
I know your face. Do you know mine?
I reach up and pull my mask back.
It's rotted away, but you smell familiar. What's the matter, rat? You're not hungry?
I've lost my taste for battle. But you'll find it if you seek it.
This one's gone soft in the head. This ain't no real rat, just a corpse waiting to die.
He stands on his hind legs and the other two rats move back. They know the order of things. He leans in to give you one last sniff.
Sickly, but it'll go down all the same.
I don't shy away or flinch.
He attempts to snap out at you with his massive, gnarled yellow teeth. That is a 16 against your armor class.
That is just a hit.
Ooh. 7 points of piercing damage. The poison does not affect you. He recoils at the taste of your blood and spits.
Yes, I suppose that would not taste very good. But neither will you when your friends turn on you.
I'm going to come in with a right hook.
Okay.
That is a 17.
No, that hits.
I'm doing a good old-fashioned flurry of blows.
Hot damn.
That one is a meager 15.
Still hits.
Excellent. How many do I get?
With a flurry of blows, you get 2 extra.
2 extra.
All martial arts lets you use a bonus action for an unarmed attack. Flurry of blows turns that into 2.
Beautiful. And then the last one is a 19.
So it sounds like all 3 of those hit with a 16, 15, 19.
Marvelous. And for damage, 8, 7, and 6 plus 3 and 2 poison. So that should be 21 and then 2 poison.
Yikes. So with a nearly unseen impact of 3 blows as your robes just seem to flutter for a moment, his eyes bulge out, blood and drool collects on his lower lip and drops to the ground, and he steps back staggered. He vomits up the blood and meat that he bit off of your shoulder.
This one's broken. Tainted. Wrong.
Looking back to his allies.
Fight, you cowards!
And they're already gone. Into the brambled blackberries.
I take my hand and lay it across his brow. And as I do, I'm going to use my hands of healing to mend the damage I've done.
All right, go ahead and roll me that healing. Is it a number or is it set like lay on hands?
I believe it is a martial die. I think my martial die is a d6 at this point.
Sounds right.
That is a 5 plus my wisdom modifier, which in this case is 3.
Awesome. So one of the massive blows you delivered to his face, you can see the crooked snout starting to mend. Confusion wash over his eyes. Something about this feels twisted and wrong to him. You know mongrels fear the supernatural.
Go now, he whispers, or I shall not give you another kindness.
He backs up a few steps, looks to make sure that his allies are long gone, looks down at the grave of the crofter, and trying to maintain some degree of toughness, he turns one shoulder heavily and scampers back into the bramble, getting faster the further away he gets from you. And the mongrels do indeed retreat into the darkness, unwilling to risk whatever has transpired here, just for some rotten meat. You can hear the rustle and the crunch of the blackberry leaves snapping in their wake. You follow to make sure that they're gone for good. And you see something nesting among the twisting blackberry branches. Something that they left behind? Or has it been here for longer than that? Begin to move the branches to see what it is, careful not to cut yourself. But to your surprise, one of the larger branches is already broken. Thick and twisted. Long and with some heft. It must have snapped off some time ago. It would make a fine walking stick, but that can't be right, because at the top of it, there is a plump, dark blackberry, still growing, its vine strong, glistening like a beetle shell. How can this fruit live on a broken branch? The question of it distracts you from your original objective just for a moment, before you return to yourself, strange staff in hand. If it weren't for your knowledge of the Crofters, you wouldn't know or believe what you're looking at. How could this be? A curio here? In the graveyard? Had the rats stolen it? Was it under this strange branch for a reason? Not that it mattered. You had found it, and you knew what that meant. It was a sign, as was the berry branch. Now, if it had been just one sign, maybe, you could have ignored it. But signs that come in two, fate's hand was eager to push this day. As a note from the last two scenes, Tiana, the needle Cruel is a +1 rapier. Once a day it casts mending. And Cruel is a kind of sewing needle, which I thought was fun. It's spelled Crewel.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
And Zach, your Blackberry staff, as long as you carry it, you have 1 extra key point each day.
Woo!
Very useful at this level. You snap back to the current time as the gray hair stands before you, holding his hand outward.
I did not rob this from that which I kept. I promise you that.
And as the last curio's handed over to the gray hair, he turns and nods his head. 4 mice clad in black ceremonial garb each take one in their teeth. Moving like acrobats, they dash and scamper quickly up the walls of the church and up the architecture of the skeleton, and congregate at the mouth, where each places one of the 4 golden teeth back into the jaws where they belong. The ritual is over, but there is no applause, no sense of relief, just questions floating in the air, a faint whiff of hope mixed with fear as the crowd begins to depart. The gray hair turns back to you and gestures to the main door of the Church of Eternal Harvest. Come with me. We have much to discuss. And that is where we'll take our first break.
Ooh.
So we're going to have 5 minutes to use the restroom if we need and reconvene here to continue telling the story and learn more about these wonderful characters now that I'm done talking as much. Hail, you cuties! Behold the field where I harvest my midrolls, and see that it is fruitful. Thanks for joining us for episode 1 of Undermile. Same slapdash energy and players, but a new setting and story. Regular LUQ will return soon. In the meantime, visit theluq.com for info on the cast and links to our social media and Discord. We keep everyone as up to date as we can on all things LUQ in these places, and the Discord is full of wonderful creative fans sharing artwork, memes, jokes, and personal stories. You should really check it out. A big thank you to our patrons. If you want to access a ton of LUQ D&D content, including a bunch of artwork and rough draft rules for the Undermile setting, after the series is completed, head over to the LUQ Patreon and check out the rewards. Our legendary midroll teams are the Titans Rise, the Twilight Concord, the Ceaseless Horde, and this week's featured team, the Forgotten Legacy, with Wagon, Insanity, John Reinhardt, and Daryl. And don't forget, at the highest tiers you can also choose to make a character to join the world's meta in LUQ Battle Axis. Follow us on Twitch to see things like Undermile live as we do more in the future, and Monday premieres of the LUQ hosted by the one and only Dana. Also, me and Zach will be bringing you more Wednesday Pokemon Challenge runs in the coming weeks. Thanks for rolling with the changes with us. Time to work on the show will only help everyone who enjoys the LUQ, and we hope you have as much fun listening to Undermile as we did playing it. But that's enough out of me. Let's get you back to the Undermile. Totally good. Everyone ready for Eddie Spaghetti?
I'm so fucking ready.
Yo, let's get the biscuit!
Hey, let's fuck this dog.
I am fully fretted and spaghetted.
Let us begin. Welcome back to Undermile. I'm going to take a moment to update us on the donations. Okay, so I know who this first one is, but from Anonymous, we have $100.
Ooh,
$25 from Scott Comerford. $50 from Justin Waycaster, $25 from Susanna Beckett, $25
Hell
from
yeah.
Scott Comerford again, $5 from Jackson Hurley, $50 from Jason Heim, $50 from Jason Beckstead, and $5 more from Jason Hurley, bringing us to a total of $335 for the donations this stream.
Yeah,
Holy
Jackson
shit.
Thank you.
That gets us
Thank
each an
That's fucking
artifact,
awesome.
right?
Right, yes. That's 6 draws from the deck of many things.
Also,
That
yes, I
sounds-
always need a belly rub constantly and forever, please.
Seriously, thank you all for your donations. That's amazing of you.
Hell yeah.
Now we will return to the story. You are led through the Church of Eternal Harvest, escorted by a pair of weasel guards carrying knitting hooks sharpened into halberds. Through the chapel, past the pews and under the bones of the first crofter, and down a hallway. There is a chamber carved into the earthen walls, with a large table in the middle. It was once a board for the crofters to carve meat with an etching of a bovine silhouette, but now it serves as a table where matters of importance are spoken of. There are plenty of chairs for everyone, in many animal sizes. And to your surprise, the gray hare says he will return shortly, as a group of mice enter carrying trays. They place food upon the table, a tiny pumpkin in the center, filled with a creamy broth full of larvae, a selection of thin sliced apples and broken bits of cracker. The mice vanish after setting the fare before you.
Perhaps there's a perch somewhere in here. I've never been good at the whole sitting thing.
Well, there's all the manner of different chairs, but if it makes you feel better, you can perch on me.
Oh, that would be... if you insist. Are you sure? You're large, but I'm not that small. Here, let us try.
Just watch the wires.
Oh, sharp. Yes, of course. I've seen fencing like this.
And indeed, if you try to perch on the shoulder, the broad, muscular shoulders of the badger, your feet do in fact encounter some barbed wire that you have to navigate around carefully. It's embedded right into his fur. It doesn't move at all.
Little surprises, little unpleasant surprises. That's just how life is.
What about you, little mousy?
What?
Do we have to get a booster seat?
Oh, I'll be fine. Thank you. I'll just take a seat over here.
There are indeed mouse-sized chairs with little step ladders on the side to make sure you're sitting present at the table.
Tiana does her very best to look knightly and fails in almost every regard. But it's a very polite sort of sitting.
And in front of each of you there is the top of a snapped-off spoon, hammered flat on the bottom that would serve as a little dish if you wish to eat.
Elazar approaches the table but does not sit in it.
Don't go hiding in the corner, right? Feel free to sit. What's wrong with you?
I've taught myself not to handle things that are not my own.
Right. Well, if it makes you feel better, I will serve you.
I leave residue. I do not believe I'm contagious, but others are disconcerted.
Trust me, there's plenty of residue on the floors of the corridors. It cannot be anything worse than I've seen.
I hold up my hand with sores and pus sweeping from them.
I can be wrong, that's fine.
Well, I've seen many wounds like that, right? Why aren't you sitting this out and healing yourself? Take some time.
There is no healing that will take care of this issue, but I have brought my own utensils.
I reach into my little prodigious gauzy coat and pull out what looks like a handcrafted spoon and skewer something and then move it away from the rest of them.
Very good.
I, too, am painfully aware of the limitations of healers.
I turn away and lift my mask and eat underneath it and then put the mask back.
Sometimes the best work is done when the healers fail entirely, but that's a conversation for a different time. I'm going to fish out some soup in my little spoon bowl.
Yeah, you get a couple of fat larva grubs in there.
Ooh, grub me up. Grub me up and down.
It's a grub spacho.
I would love to scoop up some pumpkin.
Oh yeah, you dig deep and with some of the creamy broth and bugs, you get some of that good pumpkin meat. It's Jacko-licious.
Definitely my vibe, and so Tiana's gonna mow down on that.
You see Bosco kind of have to position his neck upwards as he tries to swallow without cutting himself.
It does make me think of that Mr. Show sketch where David Cross has been hung and he can't drink water. He's like... Oh, world references. After a little while, the gray hair returns and sits at the head of the table. He looks up at Elazar for a moment, questioning why he's standing, but seems to put the scene together in his mind, once he notices the homemade spoon.
It is tradition for the chosen to share a meal before they set out on their way. I'm sorry it isn't much, but we will not eat in luxury while the dwellers struggle for fresh food.
It is so much more than I am used to.
I am glad that it satisfies, but we must talk of the great storm. The night that the great storm shook the farm, much changed for us. I don't know what kind of dark power befell this place under that shroud of black clouds and freezing rain, but it could spell our doom.
He places a small turnip on the table. It's rotten, as though it's been eaten away by frost and age.
This is fresh from the earth. Something is corrupting the crofters' harvest. The days seem to grow short, and nights long. Our sky knights report that more predators are on the outskirts of the farm, coming from the distant forest than usual, and the crofters remain inactive. There are whispers that one of them has died. Their cries of anguish still fill the nights, but when the daylight comes, they do not tend the field. They rarely appear at all. Some kind of curse has befallen them, and we cannot wait another moment to try and help. That is why we sent out the dragons to deliver the curio to whomever fate deemed worthy. A group unlike any I've seen before, but I've learned in a long life not to question the will of the Earth Queen or the crofters, for I sense something here, and it may be just what we need.
Well, I am certain that we will all give our best and try to answer the call and needs of the Earth Mother. How difficult could it be, truly?
What are we meant to do?
If anyone knows what has befallen the crofters, it is the cellar lords. Their networks are as close to them as any, but they are a greedy lot, and won't simply help out of the good of their hearts. They don't fear for the fate of the farm, for they live in luxury. But we must respect their laws, as they must respect ours. Without balance, our society will shatter. So we will send you to seek out their guidance, to learn what terrible fate has befallen the crofters. But we will send you with a gift to satisfy them in exchange for the information we need. Once you learn the truth of things, you need only follow that call to set things right. We, of course, will remain here and try to fight back the corruption that is destroying the fields, and keep the dwellers safe from the predators of the night. We must remain strong as a community. If things are set right, Undermile will be in your debt. You may ask of me any favor, and I will do all I can in my power to make it happen.
He places an old rusted ring on the table, fit for a crofter's finger, but large enough to serve as a belt or crown to many a dweller.
This symbol will get you through the cellar gates. They can be quite protective of their domain. Best not take any chances.
Valerius will immediately just start reaching a knobbly talon out toward the ring to go pick it up and examine it. Shiny and bright and interesting. Something new absolutely catches his attention.
No one stops you from picking it up, and you have this hefty ring with a tiny cracked stone in the facet of it.
Oh, this is truly a gift from on high. Have you ever worn anything like this before, my large friend? It seems fit for you.
Well, it would be easy for me to carry, right? But I've never worn something this nice.
Nor have I, to be honest. It's quite fetching. My mouse friend, seem to have a eye for the stylish. Is this something that you have run across before, or is this new for you as well?
I mean, I've seen similar things, but I've never owned anything like that.
Oh, then it is a pleasure to be in the presence of such a remarkable piece. Do you know how it's made? I guess that's not important. Yes, a symbol to move where we can. You with the bone mask, you are descended from the cellar lords, in good graces with them, perhaps?
It has been some time since I've been to the cellars. I only hope that I can provide what limited knowledge I still retain.
I live near the cellars, but I've never been in the cellars proper, only in its walls.
I don't spend much time underground, but I am certain that we are in good hands when we need to know things about going throughout the cellars. Oh, this is exciting.
We cannot fail. It won't happen. Although, there are some of the cellars that maybe won't fit me.
Can you dig?
Oh.
I can dig it.
Yes, you can.
Oh, happy they'd be about me breaking a few walls, but it'll be done.
Well, you can't make a wall without breaking. Nope, that's not the saying. Come back to me.
Suddenly, the room quakes. Beverages tip over and dirt sprinkles from the ceiling. A guard comes running into the doorway.
Quiet here! It's another storm! We must get the dwellers to high ground and secure the supplies.
And he turns to reference the weasel and says,
Move with haste, brave one. Keep everyone underground until this blows over.
And turning back to face you,
A bad omen if ever I have seen one. Whatever brought this storm surely doesn't want dwellers moving freely through the farmlands. The winds of the last were so great that some dwellers were simply carried away. Homes in the Gordlands obliterated by lightning. It's unsafe, but we cannot wait. Bring me the runaway,
he shouts down the hall.
Your only paths are to brave the wrath of the storm, or to take the east tunnels into the lost burrows. Both dangerous and deadly paths indeed.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I enjoy the subterranean.
Not to be a dissenting voice, but I do my best work with sky overhead.
I as well. Plus, I imagine the cleansing rains will do wonders for my skin.
Then doesn't matter to me.
Seems the last is to you, Miss Biscuit. Or should I say, sir? I am not familiar with the pleasantries.
Miss is fine. I feel safer in the tunnels, but if I'm with you, I'm sure there'll be no problems.
You can hear clicking in Elazar's mouth when he talks.
Are you going to finish that? My rat friend, or do you just like to save it for later?
I'm very sorry. What illness I have has loosened my teeth some. You may hear them grinding.
Oh. I do not often have problems with teeth.
But we have haste to make.
Yes.
Will you be braving the storm, or the lost barrows, then?
I think perhaps underground. I understand, Sir Corvid, that you might prefer to fly, but this is no flying weather.
Yes, it would take the wind right out of my wings, or put too much wind in my wings, both of which are a problem.
Indeed.
After a moment, a weasel guard leads a figure with a hooded cloak over their face. It's a small rat with gray fur and a pink nose. His wrists and fingers are bound in copper wire, and his ankles are connected by a similar piece, allowing for limited movement.
This is the gift you will bring to the cellar lords in exchange for their information. This is Timble Springwise, a former member of the Trapbreakers Guild, but wanted criminal in their domain. He has fled his crimes and tried to hide from his punishment, but it is now our duty to return him to answer for his charges in their law. This gesture will surely make the lords eager to aid us. They do love their justice. You will escort him, but keep an eye on him. He is a clever one.
He looks at the ground, remaining silent.
It is a grim task that we must undertake, but for every lock there is a key.
Bosco's going to grab at his collar, twist it, and then throw him over his shoulder like a bag.
Okay. He struggles for a moment until he realizes that you're not completely covered in barbs. He gets bit a couple times. But he seems to be remaining fairly quiet, just heavy with shame.
Watch out, they're sharp.
Go with haste, then.
You have the blessings of the church and the glory of the Earthquake guiding your path. Farewell.
Thank you, Greyhair. It is a great honor.
As you make your way out of the church and down through the streets of Undermile, your prisoner, a gift in tow, now hefted like a knapsack. Countless eyes are upon you. Dwellers moving quickly to deal with the oncoming storm. Droplets of water seep through the high ceiling, and dance down roots and begin to pool in alleyways. Even in the chaos, beasts step out of your way, make a path. They peer out of windows. A stoat moves bravely to Bosco and offers him a hunting knife from his belt without a word. Several onlookers toss tiny flowers in your path. A small mouseling child moves up to Elazar, holding up a sunflower seed with both hands and a smile.
Thank you, child.
Her mother quickly pulls her back indoors to avoid the storm, eyeing you only briefly. A few voices cheer out the name of Biscuit, not knowing what part of the legend they're witnessing. Avian voices unite in a musical caw, chanting the glory of the Rookery and the Sky Knights. Reverence and panic mix in the streets like oil and water, and you simply wade through it. The ground shakes again as thunder explodes outside, and it isn't long before you leave Undermile behind and enter one of the many caverns leading out. The world shrinks. The air grows quiet, save for the muffled skyward booms and droplets of moisture trickling downward.
Is it always this close in with the walls and the ceiling overhead, or does it get bigger at some point?
Oh, it seems so large.
Oh, do you spend much time under the sky?
Not really.
Yeah. Are you Biscuit?
At that question, Tiana definitely gets your meaning, and her body posture sags for a moment.
Not the one that everyone was hoping for, I'm afraid.
Well, that seems just fine.
Surely not. So, how do you know, Jam Jam?
How do you know Jam Jam?
Well, she's a knight of, high regard. Even, the badgers respect her fighting prowess.
Pardon me, but is it all right if we walk and talk?
It's more hopping in my case, but yes.
I don't mean to be a nuisance, but I can walk on my own if that's okay. I'm not going to make a break for it, not with these shackles on.
Right. I just feel like with the shackles on, it'd be faster if I carried you.
You raise a fine point.
I can smell the blood in the air, I suspect. He's probably been pierced some. I'd hate for him to bleed out before we get there.
Right. Sorry, not used to these barbs, so fine. And I gently as possibly put him to the ground.
If I'm to walk into my own fate, I'd rather do it on my own 2 feet, if that's okay.
Tell me, Springwise, is this a fate you've earned?
I guess that's up to the cellar lords, isn't it?
No. I think we are all the masters of our own responsibilities and guilts.
There are, the lives of many rats on the list of my crimes. I didn't take them, but, they're gone now. And if I didn't exist, that wouldn't have happened.
What did you do?
Tried to feed some people that needed food. Look, I don't know how much you know about the cellar lords, but, their society has a lot of different tiers, and the ones at the bottom don't get as many crumbs as the one at the top.
You speak of most organizations, I think.
That's why I ran to Undermile. Everything's more equal here. People are more generous. People care about the people that don't have food. But the cellar lords, they're not quite so much like that. And the trap breakers, we're honored in all kingdoms. We're the ones that disarm the traps that keep animals alive. It's our skills that stop the crofters from accidentally taking lives ain't ready to go,
And did you feed them poison?
No, I was trying to steal some oats.
Oh!
I'm not skilled at stealing food. I'm skilled at opening traps.
I see.
And I made a mess of it, spilled a bag of oats all over the cellar. The crofters found out, and they were furious, and their wrath took many rat lives. It was dumb. A lot of my brothers died that day, so I guess I don't mind being silenced that much, if I can join them.
That is a difficult decision that you have made, but you acted knowing well what the expectations and the rules were, and I am sorry that we must be the arbiters of your judgment, but this is how things work.
Yeah, I know. The cellar lords, they have laws about stealing from the crofters. It's how we survive, but I messed up. I did too much. Too much all at once. I didn't mean to, but...
Well, we all have our parts to play. You're our waiting, so don't screw this for us, right?
I suppose he should content himself to serve a greater purpose. Our purpose, in fact.
But before you are to die, could I know your name?
Timble Springwise.
I believe you said that earlier, Master Wizard.
No, I must have missed that. I am Valerius Seidengrubin, but there are those close to me that call me Russ.
My name's on a JPEG that's up on the screen right now, too, if that's helpful.
I understand.
I saw the JPEG. I could have told you.
For every J-hole, a JPEG.
Oh, no. I don't like the term J-hole. I'm never going to Google that. Goodness me.
Seems cruel to punish someone for trying to help people.
He looks down at you. Wow. You're pretty for a knight. So, I guess I'll walk in the back then, right? Great.
I can either walk through the front or the back. Springwise should be in the middle.
I can take up the rear as needed. My eyes are not so good anymore.
So the group moves onward, and it takes some time before you get out of the Undermile caverns and into the Lost Burrows. This is a place on the outskirts of your society. A vast network of subterranean tunnels where there are no laws, protected by the church. Many dead dwellers can be found here, and many who wish to die. This is a place where traps are found regularly, one of the deadliest expanses in all of the farmlands. We are going to enter a skill challenge, and I'd like all of you to let me know how you help navigate the group through the Lost Burrow, avoiding the dangers herein and the traps at hand. You can go ahead and roll me initiative.
I would say I fly up and keep an eye on things, but no.
It's a 9 for Bosco.
Okay.
It's also a 9 for Valerius.
Who's quicker in the Dex department?
It's Valerius.
I got a 14. Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
I've got a 16.
And I'm rocking a beautiful, beautiful 3. Oh, sorry, 3 plus 3. Ha ha.
Ah. So we got a this, we got a that, we got a this and that. I also made the dire mistake of not having any note paper available, but I will have a notepad available.
Hey.
All right. So we are going to begin the skill challenge with Tiana Biscuit. First time on the road, proving herself to strangers she's never met before.
Okay. Although Tiana has not strayed far from home, she is more than proficient at using her senses to navigate tight, dark spaces and avoid potential hazards. So I would like to take point and use my perception to guide my companions.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me that sweet, sweet perception check. Or the beans, as we say, the bean footage.
Those beans.
That is an 11, which is much better than the natural roll, but...
With an 11, you bravely step out in front of the group, searching the tunnels. This is much darker than the candle-lit halls of your home and the bright lights of the cellar radiating the fields near your tiny cottage. You feel your foot hit something, perhaps a cord, but you're quick enough to jump out of the way as a massive trap snaps shut near you that would have taken your body in half if you weren't so light on your feet. But in doing so, some debris breaks free from the wall, and it takes a moment to clear the path for your friends. The trap may still be dangerous even though it is closed. You do not know the magic of the crofters. Next in the initiative is Valerius.
Valerius has done a lot of research and study on the habits of the crofters and how they prepare their homes, their traditions. I'm going to try, if I can, to make a history check to recall any information I would know about, patterns in which they lay their waiting traps, so I can try to guide us through that.
Yeah, okay. I like it.
Let's fucking go. Ooh, a 21 from this bad boy.
Hey. So you have seen a handful of the different kinds of traps that crofters lay, especially underground. This kind is pressure sensitive. You know there are others that are baited with delicious morsels, used to trap creatures inside, whether to kill them or let them go far from the farm. You do know that they don't usually place them so close together. They try to space them out to get as many creatures as possible. So you feel like the next passage should be clear for traps at least, keeping you more aware of other kinds of hazards the group may face.
I will happily tell people to be light on their feet. They need to stay in a close line. Try not to spread out too much.
I told you I could have gone in front if you want, maybe. I'm not so bad with traps.
I am sure that you are just fine at this, but we seem to be making it so far.
I think this is a good idea. If he is a trap maker, whatever it is you do with traps, having him up front makes the most sense to me. Plus, I doubt he could outrun me.
So since you guys have spoken and interacted with Springwise in such a way, at this point in the skill challenge, over the next turn until we get to Bosco again, one of you can take advantage or re-roll your roll with the help of Springwise aiding you looking for traps. And that brings us to Bosco, the tethered.
Till we get to one of the tunnels that seems to have been caked in with soil and clay, an attempt to fill a tunnel to plug a hole. And so, with this showing no obvious signs of a trap, Bosco makes his way to the front of the queue, the marching order, and bares his prodigious claws and will make an athletics check to try and part this like a curtain.
Okay, so you're opening up a new tunnel nearby that's been caved in. Let's see that athletics.
Caved in or plugged by a crofter.
Yes.
And that's 18 plus 6 for a 24.
Damn.
Hell yeah.
I dig it.
Hell yeah, dude.
Your blood clan flares to life, and the instincts of digging fill your body, even through the aching pain of the barbed wire. These memories from your childhood into your adult life take over, and like a machine, you move the earth. You can tell these tunnels were blocked off to try to corral creatures towards their waiting traps. A clever ruse by the crofters to challenge the wit of the awoken. But you open a wide chasm into perhaps a much safer reach. That brings us to Elazar.
Long fingers stretch out and then come together with loud crackling and popping. He stands to his full height, which is shockingly tall given what you've seen so far. Adjusts his shoulders and back, and you can hear rattling and cracking with every gesture. He walks carefully over to the wall, and then, quick as lightning, begins to climb up it. I'm going to use acrobatics to climb to a high vantage point, map out traps to the best of my ability, and guide them in the correct directions.
Yeah, I like it.
That is a nat 20 on the die.
What?
Ooh.
Oh, boy, oh boy. Oh, very cute.
Is it 20 biscuits? All right.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get some pickle emojis in chat for the pickle paws? All right. So, with the vantage point from the high reaches of this tunnel, you see things that those on the ground would not be able to. There are still traps in this cavern, old ones, forgotten from some time ago, but they are buried. You see not the traps, but the mounds of earth that denote their placement. And with some directions, you give your group a very keen sense of guidance on how to avoid these mounds, surely waiting to kill any unwitting creature who comes into contact. With 2 successes for the group, following the skill challenge rules. That brings us to Miss Tiana Biscuit, back at the top. The ceiling begins to leak as water fights its way to enter the cavern. It's not quite dangerous yet, but the threat of flood seems to quicken your pace.
Okay. This is good information. God, what am I
but
good
the music
at?
is very suspenseful.
It should be. My skills are dog shit.
You're a fighter.
I'm a
Water starts
fighter.
geysering in, and you're just like,
Right. I'll put my button in the way.
I thought you were going to say
Thought you
butt.
said- That's what I thought too.
I'll plug this hole with my butt.
My rat butt.
I would like to use persuasion to convince another non-Elazar rat who's probably better at skills than me to take point instead and find the safest ways to go.
All right, so you're going to do a quick persuasion on Springwise to get him to help you, where he is an
Yes.
expert of things you are not.
Probably
So go
lots
ahead.
of things.
He gives you a wink.
Of course he does. And it was the right move because Tiana, only an expert in warm sheets and biscuits, got a 23 on persuasion.
Hell
Wow.
yes.
Hey, no problem. I might be tied up, but for you, anything. You know, I've always liked mice.
Right, there's no time for making lovey-dovey. We've got a job to do. There's a fucking storm.
There's not always time for romance.
He takes a step forward and looks over the scene as you guys get closer to these mounds, and he traces along the ground over the earth without contacting it like a finger. He says, you want to avoid the mounds, but you also want to avoid right here. There's a tether underground. If it gets jostled, one of these could open.
I've always been more of an Almond Joy fan myself.
Milky Way! So Tiana uses her persuasion to light a fire in Springwise, and he gets on his full trap-breaking game and gives you very clear guidance about how to avoid these. Right now, we are at 5 successes and only 1 failure, so y'all kind of killing it.
God, we're so good at this.
I was about to say, if only we could do this in the other game.
Right? If we only did 1 good skill challenge ever in the big podcast.
You jinxed us. You just jinxed us.
Well, that makes it Valerius' turn to prove whether or not the jinx is true.
Oh, God, I hope it's not. There's a lot of pressure.
There's no such
It's a
thing as
3 on the
jinxes.
die.
Tiana, you didn't just use the advantage from our trap finder, did you?
I did not. I forgot about
Sweet.
it.
Then I will save us from embarrassment and I'll use it.
Please, Max. I can't even remember what the last person rolled, apparently.
It was you. You rolled it like a 23. I am going to see if our ne'er-do-well trapmaster here is as good at his craft as he says he is, and kind of make a little game out of carefully following the instructions he gives us. Gives us? Seeing as that I don't have hands, I'm going to make a sleight of foot check to move really carefully throughout the little path he gives us and check back in with him regularly, just enough to kind of like be a thorn in his side.
Okay. All right. Well, roll me a slide of talent check, please.
Slide of talent. Let's see if I'm talented.
You have advantage because he is pointing out your path.
That's going to be a... Where's my sleight of foot? There it is. Motherfucking 18.
Hey, good thing you had is the other one a bad roll?
The other one isn't a bad roll at all, actually. The other one would have
cool.
been a 16.
Well, then ain't that just the way of it? You start to move forward, and around half of the corridor, he shows you where not to step. And before you get near the end of it, he actually lunges forward, jumping over a couple of the mounds and quickly tackles you before your foot lands on a very exposed tripwire. It's a very clumsy display since his hands are tied but he gets the job done.
Oh, Mr. Trapbreaker, I never.
Sorry about that. Instincts, you know.
That's fine. I'm honored that you would lay your life on the line.
Roll me a perception check.
Don't you fucking steal anything from me. That is going to be a 21 total.
You notice that when he tackled you to the ground, a small twisted piece of wire that you wear as one of your focuses is palmed in his hand.
You are so swift and talented with your hands to the point that you didn't think I would notice the little thing you took from me. Give it back.
Sorry.
The Corvids also do not like thieves.
Yeah, Mom always said don't steal shinies from a Corvid.
True.
But then a Corvid ate her, so what does she know?
How to be eaten by a Corvid.
You're surrounded by the last 4 people who might be able to help you in your situation. Perhaps it's not wise to steal from us.
I've been lied to by the people who are controlling my fate before. I apologize, but this is survival of the fittest. And sometimes you gotta use your brain.
Clearly. Speaking of which, stand up and start hopping carefully forward.
You found your way far through the Lost Barrows over the course of roughly an hour, guided by both your skills and the useful tips of this curious and trickstery rat. And you enter a safer set of tunnels. He explains to you that some of those canisters are full of a very old gas. And if they're broken, breathing it in can swiftly kill any dweller. They've been here for a long time, so they might be inactive, but that's a risk you shouldn't take.
I tend to try not to break the unbroken. Wise decision.
In the safer set of tunnels, which is still part of the outer burrows, you get much closer to the cellar borders. The wide tunnel is stacked up with empty food boxes from past raids, discarded baskets, and broken traps overcome by clever dwellers. The storm seems fading slightly. Either that or the earth is thicker here. The ground is wet, but more stone than dirt, keeping the mud to a minimum. And you're tired. Surely the cellar gates will be a welcome sight. But a figure emerges from between some of the discarded containers. A rat with a green hood covering his face, his hand resting on a blade at his side. He pulls his hood back to reveal himself to you, a gesture of respect, if nothing else. He's missing one of his ears. It seems to have a look of strong conviction on his face. Hail to the chosen, crofters. I wish not to take long from your journey, as I've heard tell of your task. You'll get no trouble from us. He looks, and as he says this, you become aware of more rats peering out from between atop nearby containers. That is, so long as you let our brother go. He's no criminal, and we will not see him face that fate. And tiny arrows are notched into rubber band bows as the trap keepers move in to liberate their kin. And that will be the end of Chapter 1 of Undermile.
What an ending.
Hell yeah.
We got some sharp, spicy rat business coming up.
A quick little update. We have reached, let me update this page. It says 8 people just donated. $360 thus far out of our goal.
That
The goal was
is
set by
very
Hazel's
kind.
house. That's awesome. So you all have been, it's more than this. This can't be right. Let me check the full see all here. So the most recent ones are, let's see, it looks like, this is a weirdly pending page because it shows me that there's 2 more anonymous ones at $100, but it could be bugging out. Either way, the current update that I have access to is 360. So thank you so much. That does mean that early in the beginning of the next chapter, we will find out how fate will shift the hand of the storytelling because of your generosity. I thank you. My players thank you. Let's all give a quick goodbye and drop any links we want to tell people about. Besides, of course, theluq.com. It's our major podcast. All of us are involved in it. It's the flagship that me and Zach started 3 years ago, and it's where adventuring is a major league sport with hilarious commercials and commentator play-by-play and all these people playing really fucking great characters. So please check it out.
It's a ton of fun.
Anything to say in farewell?
Hell yeah. Hey, thank you so much, everybody. You all have all been incredible. Fucking mind blown. Go check out my stuff. You can find me at Dungeon Master Max pretty much anywhere online. Facebook, Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. Instagram, I use Instagram a lot. And check out help-action.com, not spelled out dash, the little punctuation mark dash.
That's our thing.
I was about to say, this is the one time when that's really relevant. Help-action.com. We sound like a vague protest group. We're not. It's where you can find your finest DM advice. And many of these fine people have been on the show, and more of them will be. Go check us out. Have fun.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. The chat's been pretty funny. I've been trying not to get lost in it. It's pretty good.
There's been some choice goofs being dropped for sure.
You guys are goofing good. I don't really have links for y'all, but if you want to find me on Instagram, it's if you don't know, now you know, Angelo. And yeah, if you find any of these other 4 people, then you'll probably find me.
I am Dana Ebert, currently fighting a bit of a headache and some sinus pressure, but when we're back next week, I'm sure I will be back to my own chipper self and ready to play this little mouse. You can find
the allergies are bad in Portland today.
It's all bad. It's all bad. And I've been sick the last few days, which these guys know. You can find me on most social media at Mistress Dana RPG. I have some really exciting announcements coming up in the next few months, so please give me a follow and keep your eyes peeled for those. I'm also going to be in a live stream show as part of TTRPG that starts Friday of next week and runs every 2 weeks, and it's a Haunted West game. We're playing Haunted West, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll plug it again, but yeah, that's all I've got going on.
Sweet.
As I mentioned before, I'm Zach Barkus, technical director for Slapdash Studios. I wanted to mention, you might see this background right here and think it's a green screen. That's real shit right there, my dogs.
That's real, genuine plastic.
It's also super narrow, so if I move the camera in any direction to the left or right...
Are you attempting to say that my giant grass is not somehow real?
Okay, here's the best part. Just a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Max is literally in my basement right now.
I'm locked in Zach's basement.
Because we couldn't trust his audio video setup, so I had to sit there and run and set him up before getting myself situated. And literally, I was right on the cusp of not being able to get this stuff working 5 minutes before the end. So
hey, you nailed it, dude.
And I just took a photo of my office and used that as a green screen. This is all fake.
One thing I always wanted to do is whenever I'm on a work call and somebody gets up, I always want to screenshot their house really quick and set it as my background.
Oh no.
So far I've not been fast enough, but one of these days.
That's
one of my players recorded a short video of their own background and them leaning over and waving and leaving back and They had it as their background for so fucking long. It was the most distracting thing in the world. It was golden.
There are streamers who have really messy rooms and photos of their rooms clean.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
Good. I am very happy to be here, though. I'm really looking forward to next week. And more importantly, I'm really looking forward to us doing more streams like this. If this turns out well and we've got good numbers and we're seeing good turnouts, you bet your sweet bippy we're going to be throwing as many of these as possible.
Yeah, I'm having fun doing all of the drawings. I've been inspired to get back into art lately with all the different characters we met today.
They're so good.
I just thought it was a fun way to kind of tie visuals in with the story.
Hell yeah.
I'd love to keep doing that kind of stuff with these sorts of overlays in tabletop settings that we're working on.
Next week, Bree Golden did some fan art for my character, and I think also Max's, so we'll probably be able to showcase that too, which would be lovely.
Yes, in the next week, if we get any kind of extra art assets or fun Undermile themed things, I'd be happy to incorporate them into my visuals at some point as a kind of a reel. That would be cool as beans.
Send them to our Discord or to admin@slapdashstudios.com.
Or highlight us on Twitter.
Or Twitter. Twitter's better.
All right. Well,
Picking a pickle.
She just got back in the room, so I wanted to have her help say goodbye.
Definitely worth it. Oh my God, pickles.
Kitty.
All right. Thank you all so much for your generosity in the donation. We'll see you next Wednesday at 6 Eastern. 6 Eastern.
6 this side.
And we'll keep you up to date on any new massive donations to the page.
6 Pacific? 6 Pacific, not
6
Eastern?
Pacific.
6,
yes.
not 6 Eastern.
Specifically 6.
Why did I correct myself to Eastern? Oh, boy.
Yes, you were technically right with Western, theoretically, just the wrong word, but you went all the way to the opposite side.
I sure did. This is why I can't juggle a cat, check donations, and stream at the same time. All right. We love you all very much for everybody. Join